And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is the great Glynis McCants, author and master numerologist that has performed over 50,000 readings. Today she returns to tell us what's in store for 2025 and more. Glynis, welcome back. It's great to see you again.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for having me back. I sure appreciate it.
Well, Glynis, my channel has grown by leaps and bounds since the last time you were here. So for those that are new, can we just start with something simple like what is numerology?
Sure. Numerology is a science of numbers. It's 2,500 years old. Pythagoras was the creator of the system, the one that I use. The belief is that everything in the universe has vibration. So that's true. Like you can walk in a building, it has vibration. When you start a company, the name of the company has vibration. But the most significant is people. So that means when you meet someone, you're like, I really am enjoying this person. But you can meet someone else and say, wow, that person just drained me. Like I feel tired. That's vibration, and that's what I do.
If birth dates are so important, do you think that we choose the date of our birth pre-birth?
No, I do not. Here's what I believe. First of all, when you come through, because people write me and say, but wait, my mom, she had a C-section or I was an emergency. Does that birth date count? The answer is yes, because when we come through, there's vibration and sound that comes with you. And once you're born, wherever you are in this world, those numbers matter. Like people say, how come it applies to people all over the world? How would it not just be here? They ask me all these questions. Keep it simple. Your full date of birth, the day you're born, your whole birthday reduced to one digit, and your month and day tell me so much about you. And it helps you understand yourself. One other thing I will say, when someone almost dies, right? When someone, maybe like one guy I had, he had a motorcycle accident. He was dead for a moment on that hospital in the emergency room, but he came back. He started using that birth date instead. And I found that birth date resonated. So that can happen, Jeff. Energy can change when you have something like that. That traumatic thing happened, that turning point that you almost did not survive. You should look at that day as well.
It's amazing that you mentioned that because I've interviewed hundreds of near-death experiencers and we never talk about their new birth date.
And boy, should you. Like anybody who studies numerology or wants to understand their vibration, when they almost die, they've got to look at the day that happened because it will resonate. When they read those vibrations, they might find that that's more true for them now. And this has happened again and again for me with my clients. Like when I say, okay, well, that day you died on that table, let's take a look. And when I define those numbers, they're like, that's who I am. Because so often when they come back from that, they know they're different. They feel different. And that's a shift in vibration.
You mentioned birth dates and other numbers. How do you extract the life path number from that?
So a life path number, you take the full date of birth and reduce it to one digit. And so in your case, you're 5/21/1970, correct? When you take that full birth date and add it straight across and reduce it to one digit, in your case, it's the number 7. So what that tells me automatically, a 7 is, yes, they're good communicators when they want to be, but they're also excellent observers. They tend to notice what's going on around them. So that means you could be sitting there talking to one person, but you're picking up the energy around you. You're hearing a little bit of the conversation to your right or to your left. That's just your mind. The other thing about a 7, if someone's talking to you and you're not really interested, you know how to leave your body. You will mentally leave the building, Jeff, to protect yourself. You're like, I can't stay here. So you just kind of go away. They don't know. And then when they're finally done, you're like, okay, bye. So I would say as a 7, you really have to pick and choose wisely who you want to spend your time with. And again, study. The more you learn, if you say, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? That's where it's coming from. I got to give you an interesting example. I was just rereading some of my book from Glynis Has Your Number. It was Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's a 7. And I always say 7s, this is a fun phrase. They either thank God or think they're God. So in other words, God is part of their story to figure it out. What am I, right? Well, Renee Russo and the actress who worked with them, she said he'd constantly be like, well, trying to figure out who I am. I'm trying to figure out why I'm here. And I'm like, I got chills saying, wow, That is the 7 talking. So yeah, that's that basic number. And then we all have a life path number. So I'm going to briefly say what they are. And I also invite people, at numbercity.com, if they click on numbers on my website, they can look up the life path, because I did do little definitions for each life path. But like I said, you're a 7. The first life path is the number 1. And for the record, the numbers 1 through 9, these are the basic numbers of what we are. Like, all of us fall in those categories. There is such thing as a master number. That means, you could be born the 11th or the 22nd, but also your birthday could become an 11/2, a 22/4, a 33/6. So master number, I'll tell you about in a moment, but keeping it simple. And even the master numbers, I say they need to look at this basic number. The number 1 strives to be the best at what they do. Like, they've got to feel like they're winning somewhere in their life. And I often counsel someone. I said, look, if you have a 1 and you're frustrated with one part of your life, do something else that makes you feel like you're winning. Maybe compete with yourself, right? Grab the Fitbit, do 20,000 steps instead of 10,000. You're going to feel good. You're going to feel like you had a victory. It doesn't always mean you got the job, right? That someone else made you happy. You got to find little things that make you happy. That's the number 1. And like I said, if I was employing someone who's a 1, I make sure I give them the assignment and I trust they'll do a good job. If you do that, they'll give you excellence. If you watch them too much, you become too critical, they'll rebel. So that's 1. Number 2, ultimately, Jeff, they seek love, peace, harmony. They don't want conflict because they're actually very sensitive. But what I've noticed is when they get upset, they become the terrible 2 and look like a little kid. Like, it doesn't look natural when they get upset. So I teach them to step back. Don't fall into the trap of letting someone ruin your day. Like, you might be really happy and someone takes a cheap shot, suddenly you're depressed. You don't want to do that. So the 2 seeks love. The 3, communication. Now, mind you, you were born the 21st, correct?
Yes.
Okay, 2 + 1 is 3. What do 3s do? Communicate. I'm born the 12th. 1 + 2 is 3. Now, in my case, I'm double 3. So 3 is just a big part of who I am, and it's a big part of you. The difference is, and this is why it matters, if you're born on a 3 day, that's how you appear. Communication, sense of humor, you can be playful, but behind your 3 is a 7. And I love knowing that about you, because it tells me there's more than meets the eye. Don't assume you know Jeff. Don't assume you know him. He'll let you know him when he's ready, but don't just make a presumption. But going back to 3, it is sense of humor. It's natural counselor. It is feeling the need to motivate and uplift other people. So yeah, there is a natural optimism in 3 energy. And then the number 4, the 4 seeks knowledge. But they also don't want you to make a mistake that they've already made. So sometimes people will think they're cynical, that they're coming off. Like, example, if I say to you, oh, it's a blue sky, so pretty today, a 4 would say, you don't see that black cloud? It's right there. It's on the left side. I'm like, are you kidding me, right? I just want to look at the blue sky. But they're saying it because they're trying to help you. They're like, just bring, an umbrella just in case. Like, later today, it starts to rain. The thing about 4s too, they're obsessed with the truth. So if you're dishonest, they're not going to put up with it. They're going to call you out. Then number 5 life path. This is about freedom. This is about enjoying their life. When I do events and I say, raise your hand if you're a 5, half the class is a 5, because they love to get out of their regular environment, and they also want to play detective. Every time they learn something new, it makes them happy. The number 6, 6s are magnetic. They're strong people, but they want to be in charge. Like, they're meant to be in charge. I'll put it to you that way. So if they work under someone else, the boss is going to be annoyed, because they can feel that this person knows more than they do. And I always say to a 6, make sure you have your own company, because you're going to resent who gets the paycheck that you deserve. The number 7, as I said, that's you. But it also means, Jeff, I should say this, love of nature. Like, how often are you able to get out there? Do you ever travel? Tell me about that part of you?
Not enough.
Not enough. And that's not healthy for you, by the way. So I'm suggesting this year, make the effort. Because have you noticed nature's beauty, the ocean, the mountains, the plants, the flowers? Doesn't it make you happy when you experience that energy?
It does.
Do you know the 7 gets energy from water? So I always say to my clients, I mean, some of them are scuba divers. I mean, they live in the ocean, but others just the jacuzzi, a bathtub, just something, because it helps you think more clearly. Because sevens tend to have too much on their mind. So if they can get in front of a space, yoga, meditation, the answers come through you, Jeff. It's always coming right through you. Like you end up having those aha moments, often by yourself. Have you noticed that?
It's amazing that you say that because many times those moments come when I'm taking a shower.
Thank you. Thank you. So I am saying, as a seven, all sevens out there, get in the water. If something's troubling you, you need an answer, get in the water because the answer will come to you. And then the number eight is, the many things. Eight's like quality. I always think of Liz Taylor because she loved diamonds and she had eights all over her chart. But so some people will accuse them of being materialistic. I don't see it that way. I just think they're drawn to the best. Whatever they see out there, they're like, oh, I love that. And it tends to cost money. The eight is also outspoken. I teach them to choose their words more carefully because they can be very blunt. And then the number nine is the humanitarian. So, who just passed? Jimmy Carter. Tell me if that's not a case study. Jimmy was a 9, as was his wife. And all he did, besides being president and trying to keep us out of a war, a lot of people did not like the way he handled stuff as president. But I don't know anyone who does not respect him for like Habitat for Humanity. He also went throughout the world to try to make sure the elections were fair, right? The cheating, the idea that someone can manipulate an election was incredibly upsetting to him. So in his life, he was out there doing that. And what I love the most about Jimmy, it was almost 2 years ago, I believe it was February 2 years ago, that he left hospice and thought, yeah, I'm just going to go home and die, right? He didn't. So I don't know if it was 1 or 2. Someone can check that out. But I know it was a very long time after he was going to pass and didn't. And I honestly can tell you, because I know the man had great faith, he really cared deeply about people. And that to me is a great example of what is 9. 9 is the humanitarian. They're supposed to go out of the way. If they feel like they can affect change, make things better, they're so happy. That's where their fulfillment is. My caution is when a 9 is scarred from family, like mom or dad treating them badly, they have a real issue with that. Like it's hard to let it go. So I teach them, you have to let the past go, whoever hurt you, or you can't be happy in the moment. So that is the 9 life path. So those are your basic numbers, 1 through 9.
Now, the life path number is calculated from your birth date, right?
Yes, that is correct. You take, like when I say your whole birthday.
Well, how do you calculate the master number?
Well, that's just it. When you're adding straight across and all of a sudden you get those 2 digits before it becomes the final number, like when you look at that number 1 through 9, you may see an 11, you may see a 22, you may see a 33. You make a note of that. So what does that mean, master number? Obviously, if I'm born the 11th or the 22nd, it's already clear that I have a master number in my chart, right? Even me, my month and day, 812, that's an 11, 11/2. So what does that mean? It just means you feel called to master your life in some way. So that means they have very high standards. But what I teach people with master numbers, I say, you cannot live in that high frequency all the time. It's not possible. You're supposed to use it when you are teaching, right? Performing. Maybe you're a singer, an actor. Maybe you're on the floor as a politician making a speech. That's when you live in that master number. But otherwise, you want to relax back into the basic 11/2, 22/4, 33/6. It makes all the difference for your mental state. Because I have a lot of people who have master numbers, and I mean, they could be in their 80s and they still feel like they accomplished nothing. And I'm talking about very, very successful people, best-selling books, beautiful home, great family, and they still feel like they're not there. That's because they're living in that frequency of master number, which is not good. So that's what I mean about it. Yeah.
In the past few months, it's really become a lot more often that when I look at the clock, I see repeating numbers. Does that mean anything?
It sure does. When you see number patterns, it's talking to you. And actually, one of my favorite patterns is when people see their birth date, like just like 521 for you.
I see
Do you
that
ever
a
see
lot, a lot.
do you get how, okay, first of all, I love that I brought that up because look at you. What does it mean? When your birthday shows up, it's talking to you. It's saying, hey, Jeff, what's going on with you? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you on track? Or did you lose yourself? See, I find a lot of people see it when maybe their life took a back seat. Maybe they're too focused on a relationship or just maybe counting on somebody else and it's not coming through. So it's checking in on you. It's a real, I just love it. It means the universe actually cares about you. Like you're someone they're actually noticing. And then what I find is once I get on track again, like do what I want, it might show up on occasion and I just smile and say, hey, thanks for checking in. So that's what a birthday number means. So again, for you, 521, for me, 812. Now, talking about numbers, patterns like 222, 555, 333. You got to look at the basic energy first. So I'm going to tell you, if you see 333, do you ever see that one, Jeff?
Probably.
Well, you're going to now that we've talked about it. But what it means, it's angel energy. Like 333, that is wonderful. That means let's say you were feeling a little depressed, maybe your energy is low, you've been working too much, or you're not sleeping right. You see 333, that's like angel protection checking in. How are you? What can you do to feel better? Maybe it's time to step away. And like I already suggested in your case, 7, travel. Get out of that environment. Do the wish list. Where is it you've always wanted to go to and you never did? That's what I would say when I see it. Now, the 2 energy, 2's about intuition. So if something's going on that's been bugging you and you kind of think you have the answer, but you're not sure, if you see 222, it's validating you. It's like, trust your gut instinct. It's not going to fail you. Okay. And then 555, there's a lot with energy. 5, the shadow side is drama. So if I see a bunch of 5s, I'm like, okay, I got to get out of my regular environment, maybe go for a drive, go for a walk, put on some music, just change the vibration. Remember, it's a reminder to celebrate your life, right? Sometimes, and I'm sure you do this too, Jeff, we get too intense, right? We have a lot to do. We're working on deadlines and we forget to have fun. If you see 555, it's reminding you, have some fun.
I mean, I probably see all of them. So what about 111, 444?
Well, again, for those watching, it is repeating vibration. For the record, the book Glynis Has Your Number covers this. And where else do I cover it? If you go to Numbers ID and click, like I said, the numbers menu, scroll down, I talk about repeating number patterns because it is important. But 1, if we keep this simple, 1 is ambition. What are you going to do to win? What are you doing to feel better, right? 4, seeking knowledge. What don't you know? Do your research. And the other thing, yes, I will add it all up and reduce it to 1 digit to get that message also. Excuse me. I'll add it up to get that message also. 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. So that means maybe I'm having a tough time. I'm hitting my head because I want to do it my way. But if I persevere, I get to have fun when it's all said and done because 4 can be intense, but 3 is about laughter and communication. So that's how it works.
Glynis, a lot of people obviously are into numerology, but they are also interested in horoscopes. What does numerology provide that horoscopes don't?
So here's the thing. Astrology and numerology, what they have in common are numbers. Like when you talk about the house, when they talk about the 5th house, 6th house, whatever they talk about in astrology and those 12 planets, what I have noticed when I do an interpretation of who someone is, a gifted astrologer, the one who really can read those numbers, and in their case, the signs, their answer and conclusion is the same, which is why I love it. Like that's when I know someone really knows what they're doing. Because for me, it's all about interpretation. Numbers are just numbers, right? You put those 6 numbers out that make up a numerology blueprint. But if you don't know how to read it, if you don't know how to understand it, that's a problem. I've done this forever, right? It's been 30 years, really, 30 years of study. I was a teenager when I learned numerology. My heart was broken. That's what pulled me in. And then I understood the vibration, understand why I got hurt. And then I started to study it. So 13 years into it, that's when I wrote my book, Glynis Has Your Number. That was the reason. So again, astrology versus numerology, here's something that's very different. In astrology, they'll say, well, what time were you born and where, what location? I don't need that tool when I do numerology, but what I do need is the birth certificate name. So that name that was on the birth certificate originally will tell me your destiny number. And then I need the first and last name you go by today, because that's energy you're putting out there right now. And then the birth date never changes, right? So the day you're born is significant. The full birthday reduced one digit, significant. The month and day, significant. So those 6 numbers give me the blueprint. And then going to you, your name, because we talked a little bit more about your name. The name that you really are, first and last, is different than JeffMara, yet people think JeffMara is your name. How true is that? Tell me about that.
That's true. I mean, people will email me and say, hello, Mr. Mara.
And then that name came from where again? What
That's
did you say?
my wife's name.
I love that. Yeah. So because that's true, though, see, it's vibration that you're putting out there. It matters. So I'm going to tell you the difference. And then your last name, your real last name is?
It's Reynolds.
Right. Okay. So when we go to this vibration, in the case of JeffMara, it's 786. What does that tell us? The soul number 7 means, again, study, learning. Like, I think you must always be seeking knowledge. Is that true for you? Like, is it all day, every day? I mean, tell me about that. When do you shut your mind down? I'll put it to you that way. When do you just...
That's very difficult to do. I'll put it that way.
I would think it's nearly impossible, and because you're also a 7, I call my 7s the human vampire, because nighttime, they often come to life. It's not uncommon for them. I mean, some wonderful authors that are 7s and top directors, producers, these are 7 energy. And the ones who do radio, they usually have a nice sound. George Noy is one of my examples, but you're also a 7. It's a nice sound because it's not about attention. Some people need it to be only about them. The 7 doesn't have to do that. They know how to step back and let you do your thing too when they're talking to you. But also they're picking and choosing who they want to talk to, right? 7s are not going to just talk to anybody. So that's your soul. Your soul is fulfilled with that. Like, you're fulfilled when it's good conversation, when it's something you felt you learned from. The personality number is 8. 8 means I don't mind working hard, but I need a paycheck. Right? I need to be compensated because I have a life. I always say, God put you on a planet that costs money. He better have a plan for you to make some, right? It's just the way it goes. If you could do it for free, you would, but you have things you need to take care of. That's your 8. Then the whole thing's a 6. That's the power name number. That is the, I call it the nurturer, but like in your case, with your wife, if something goes wrong, I would think you'd want to step up and make sure everyone's okay. That's the number 6. So I call them the ones who rescue the damsel in distress. When it goes real the wrong way, it's just a mess. The 6 steps up to go, okay, wait, we got to fix this. We don't want there to be a problem. You're not looking for conflict, by the way, Jeff. You don't like fighting. If someone wants to fight with you, you're like, I can't be doing this. Not healthy. But the 6 does tend to rescue. They want to take care of, make sure everything's all right. So that came from the name you go by, that the world is knowing you as, JeffMara. So what's the difference? When I look at Jeff Reynolds, in Jeff Reynolds' case, 764. So some things didn't change. Your soul number stayed the same. It's the number 7. So it's everything I just said about the 7 with you. Your personality number is now a 6. So the personality 6 means magnetic. You're the kind of guy I would think when you're out there, you tend to like privacy, you tend to just do your own thing, but there will be times someone's drawn to you. People are intrigued. They kind of wonder who you are. What's up with that guy? It's coming from the 6. And did you have children at all?
Yes, I have 2.
Okay. Just to be clear, the 6 is father energy. So that tells me you needed to have kids. Like that's a part of you. It made sense that you have children. And then the power name number in this case is the number 4. So 4 and 6 are family people, like your home, your surroundings. It should be nice, like you'd like it to be. If it gets too cluttered or crazy, that's not good for your mind. And then again, being a father, How old are the kids now?
19 and 16.
Okay. It becomes your mission to teach them. Again, when I said a 4 wants to teach you what they already went through, like if you had a bad experience, you want to make sure these kids don't go through that. That's coming from your 4. So that's your name. And then I also have your birth certificate name. So what I got a kick out of regarding your birth certificate name, 933, but the destiny number's 3. What did I say? Here to motivate and uplift others, sense of humor, communication. Like you have always felt called to express yourself in some way. Tell me about that, about you.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I've been a musician. I'm doing this.
And as a musician, did you write at all? Or
Right.
did you sing? Tell me about
I was
that.
I would write, play instruments. I was really a kind of a backup singer, not a lead singer.
Right. But you still had a voice.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing about you. 3 energy, if they don't communicate, they're not happy. But it also tells me it gives you a little bit of duality in your personality. Because sometimes you're social, other times you're like, I got nothing to give. I just need to be by myself now. Even with your family, you're like, I got to go in this room right now to regroup. It's almost like you can't think clearly because there's so much coming at you. So if you don't find a way to get centered again, it's not healthy for you. And I'm sure you know that. But ultimately, what does it tell me? A 3 destiny, you're destined to be a big communicator. You're destined to affect change. Like those interviews, the ones you pick, don't you think it's about people coming upon it going, wow, that validated what I'm going through, right? Their experience. Maybe it's something in their family no one believes in. And then you have your page to help them. Like your channel is to help people with different tools they never considered.
I look at my channel as a safe place for people to
Yes.
come share their experiences, their theories and knowledge.
Right. So that and yet it's not like other places, right? See, my punchline about the 7, and I will stand by this. If a spaceship showed up one day and said, "Hey, Jeff, come on," you'd be like, "See ya. I knew I didn't belong here." Because humans frustrate you. Their dishonesty. When they're dishonest, if they're angry about nothing, it's very difficult for you. It's like, do you have any animals, by the way? Any pets?
I have one dog.
Does that dog love you? Like,
Yeah,
is that a
yeah.
buddy?
Yes, and the dog is so sweet. It's like a gift from God.
No, but so let me explain that. The 7, because you're really not like others, you're not like the regular person, animals see it. You don't threaten the animal. Animals should like you, even if it's not your animal, right? There's something about them. Like, people who are the dog whisperer, those people have the ability to communicate. You have that in your chart. You didn't go that route. That's not what you did, but you intuitively pick it up. And that's why that animal is such a love.
Mm.
Just because that's all you're resonating. It's like when I think of the word pet, what is pet? It means love, right? You pet your pet. That's all it is. They make you laugh. Like you could be having a bad day and you just laugh at something the dog did, right?
Right.
So that's what it means. And that's why you do so well with that energy.
Thank you. Glynis, after doing 50,000 readings, are you at a point where you don't even need the numbers anymore? They're just kind of like validating because you just can naturally
You're correct in
read
what you
people?
just said, validating. When I meet someone, my brain automatically goes, okay, that guy's an 8. Oh, that girl is a 4. I know what they are. And then I'm like, what's your birthday? And then they say it, and I'm like, of course it is. I do it all the time. Even when someone tells me a story about some experience they had, oh, that gal's, must have a 7. What's cute about 7s that often happens with me, maybe I'm engaging with one talking, and all of a sudden I can see them close up a little, like they almost feel exposed. And I laugh and go, honey, that's just your 7. And when I tell them that, they start laughing. And they're like, you're right. I do that. And then they feel better. The whole reason I do numerology and encourage people to learn how I do it, because I wrote Glynis Has Your Number. That title is not by accident. I wrote it because so many of the books didn't make sense to me in numerology before I wrote them. It would be like saying you're fat, you're thin, you're short, you're tall. I'm like, why are you not being specific? So then I had breakthroughs after studying for 13 years and doing reads, right, on everybody, my family, my friends, everybody. I realized, oh, wait, I have something to contribute to the science of numbers to help people understand each other better. So that was my purpose. I know how often someone can hurt us. It can be a family member, it can be our partner. If you understand your differences in numerology, it won't affect you like that. You'll be able to step back and go, he's in a personal year 5. Oh, today's a caution day for her. That's how I do it. Make a note of what's really happening so it doesn't hurt you.
Glynis, let me change gears with you. And can you please tell us a little bit about why the end of 2024 here is such a wild ride? And what do you see with the energy of 2025?
I actually gave people a heads up in 2024 at the beginning, and I broke it down 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 is 8. And I literally said this would be the year of politics. And I didn't just mean here in the United States, I meant in the world. Well, sure enough, I came across an article about a week and a half later, after I had already made that statement, and it said that 4 billion people would be voting in the world. I mean, that was staggering. So what I also knew, the shadow side of 8 is being stubborn, not being willing to give up your position. So hitting your head before you learn. And I saw tremendous frustration, like people went through a lot. And if you take the number 8 and you trace it, it goes round and round, which means you can start to feel a little crazy too. And plenty of my clients reported back feeling that way. But that's all it was. It was the vibration of 8. And that's why money was also a story. You know, the 8 is about, the positive side is prosperity. And so I always offer a prosperity affirmation when we talk about the number 8 to help people get on track. But it can be extreme. It's like, oh, I made a bunch of money or I lost a bunch of money. So we saw fluctuations, right? I mean, look at the stock market went through the ceiling. It got so high, yet we dealt with inflation, we dealt with gas, and then things started to shift there as well. That's what I looked at. But the directness and the anger is not going to be a part of 2025. It's a very different energy. Now, I'm not going to say there'll be no anger, of course, but not like this year. This year has been a test for all of us. And I want to speak to health issues. When you're in a cycle of 8, and the world number 8 was above us, you got to be careful about your body. And for the record, Jeff, like you happen to be going into a personal year cycle of 8, means take a look at your physical health. How are you feeling? Lower back, your neck, your shoulder. Take a look at that before it becomes a problem. Because what happens is, let's say your lower back hurts, but you ignore it. Next thing you know, your back goes out. And then you need maybe surgery or something. So I'm saying that the world number 9, 2025, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 is 9. This represents clearing space for new beginnings. So it means it's time to look around and throw stuff away. You know, if you've got a pile up, a ton of papers, or your closet's full of clothes, you don't even wear them, throw it away. Get rid of as much as you can in this new cycle. It will actually clear your mind as well. So I see it as much lighter. And now there's going to be the residue of 8. We're not done with 8 energy, even though we're heading into a new year. We're still going to deal with, you know, the roller coaster. That would be another word, right? If you imagine if you had the number 8 as a roller coaster, doesn't it look like it? If you trace the number 8, it's a roller coaster. That we're going to feel that for a while. Like in January, we're still going to experience it. But as we start to get out of it, it becomes a much more, you kind of take your own power back. I actually am a huge fan of this world number. Like I see great things in store, but also revealing, you know, these things that we're still not clear, things that people are frustrated about. We have gotten to the point in our society, United States, and I believe it's throughout the world, but I really feel it here because we live here. There's no compromise. It's gotten to the point where if you don't agree with me, you're my enemy. And that cannot last. So that's a shift that I see taking place, that we finally go, you know what? We are more alike than we are different. That's a message that we're going to learn. We're not quite there yet, but we're going to get there. And that's the difference. Now, I'd like to teach personal year cycles because there's actually something very exciting about this year. And it won't happen again for another 9 years because it's something that happens. You know, there are 9-year cycles for things that happen. So we'd have to wait another 9 years for this pattern to show up. But I'm going to tell you about it. When you take your month and day and reduce it to one digit and add it to the world number 9, okay, and reduce it to one digit, that tells you your personal year cycle. And you want to know what that cycle is, by the way. It's very important because the personal year cycle is something that gives you a heads up on what to focus on. So again, do you want to give me your wife's month and day and I'll tell you about her cycle?
Sure. Month and day would be January 5th.
Okay. Okay. So January 5th, what I would say, first I'd have to ask you, was this year crazy for her? I want to know. Tell me about what type of year this was. Did it move quickly for her? How do you feel she felt about this year overall?
Yeah, I would say it was a crazy year.
Yes. Yes, because of the cycle. She was in a cycle of 5. So here's how it works. So month and day, 1 plus 5 is 6. Added to the world number 9. 6 plus 9 is 15. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 personal year, it's like taking your power back. It's magnetic. It's strong. Like she's going to feel more in charge of her life. Things are going to settle down in a way that makes her feel happy, centered. So she's going to have a great year in that way. Now, what she needs to watch for, the 6 also promotes us wanting to be in charge of all of it. And there's no such thing. Like whenever we try to fix everything, we fail. So she needs to make a note of that. And she needs to realize it. So you're going to have to ask for help, like that delegation stuff. Important to do it in the cycle of 6, because the minute you think you're going to do it all, it's going to lead to resentment. And we don't want resentment. Like for her, Mara, I would suggest delegate, but also know you are in your power. So if there's something she had up her sleeve, something she wanted to do, great year to do it. It wasn't good for this year. It's good for the new year, 2025. So we all have a personal year cycle. And again, 9 years. So that means you're either in a personal year of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So let's say you're in a personal year of 1. Again, I love this cycle. You're getting back in the driver's seat. You are taking your power back. If you felt everyone else was in control, things didn't go your way, it's time to get back to you. Literally, 1 means, how do I feel like I am number 1? So for people who are listening, who just went through a cycle, let's say of 9, it's refreshing to know, oh, good. Because sometimes we lose ourselves. We're like, I used to have energy. I used to feel ambitious or driven, and I've lost it. Cycle of 1 brings you back to it. Because I said the cycle 1 is about trying to win. And I'm going to throw someone in because I love this story. Katie Ledecky, the swimmer in the Olympics, she won the gold medal several times. But what I loved about her chart, she was a 1 life path in a personal year of 1. And I think the month was a 1. So I was just laughing, going, of course you're breaking all records. I mean, she was such a fast swimmer that when she stopped swimming, no one was even in the camera lens, like the camera was on her, but there were no swimmers anywhere near her. That's how fast she was. And that is what I say. When I look at numbers, it's stuff like that makes me go, there you go. That's an example of a personal year of 1 and a 1 life path winning in that cycle. So then we just move on. Cycle of 2. Maybe you've been single for a long time. The cycle of 2 asks you, find love, open yourself back up, start dating, put yourself out there. It's worth it. That's 1. Number 2, be careful with your emotions. When you're in a cycle of 2, you might take things too personally and feel oversensitive. I caution you, just be aware, I'm in a cycle of 2. So when that commercial happens, Jeff, and someone starts crying, they're like, why am I crying? I'm like, you're in a cycle of 2. I'm reminding them, be careful with that. And then cycle of 3, communication. So let's say the numbers 4, 7, sometimes 2, they get quiet, right? They're introspective. They go inside themselves. When you're dealing with this cycle, it's about communication. 3, it's like I'm my inner child. I'm getting in touch with the inner child to play. So again, it's a positive cycle, but it's also about opening yourself up in a way you normally don't. Personal year 4, it's time to pick up a book. Maybe you run a company, but darn well you need to get that little degree or certificate that will kick it up a notch. That's the year to do it. Cycle of 4. And for the writers out there, great cycle to write a book. So it's a good time just to write, share your thoughts. All right, that's the 4. Now, remember what I said, it's very direct. But what's nice, yes and no are complete sentences. So if I say, yeah, I want to do it, or no, I don't, you can stand in that. You don't have to explain yourself. All right. And I should say about lying, the 4's got a radar for the liar. So if maybe someone's in your life and you just, maybe they gaslit you, right? You've been gaslit. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, that's so obviously a lie. The cycle of 4 tells you. Cycle of 5, no dull moments. It moves so quickly. So you got to write everything down in order for you to get it done. Otherwise, it won't get done. I have people in a cycle of 5, it's January, suddenly it's April. They're like, oh my gosh, I swear I just blinked, it's April. I said, it's okay, calm down. You just got to get back to you, write your stuff down, mark it as you go, and you'll still achieve a lot. But I also suggest not a cycle to get married, not a cycle to quit a job. Go on the trip, go on the adventure, have fun. Cycle of 6, if you, let's say you were dating and you're getting married, that's a great cycle for you to get pregnant or have kids or say I do. It's about family, but it also means giving birth. You know, Jeff, when we launch a company, that's giving birth too, right? When we launch a book, it's a form of giving birth. 6 is magnetic, as I said about your wife. It's a strong cycle to do something you want to do. You are empowered. Cycle of 7, you're going within. So let's say you are a communicator like me, double 3. Now, cycle of 7, you are stepping back. You are listening to what's going on out there, but you're not feeling the need to communicate as much. And I've had people literally say, Glynis, I feel like I don't even want to deal with people anymore. I said, you're in a cycle of 7, which means going within. Those spiritual questions, as I said, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Working on those answers is key in the cycle of 7. Cycle of 8, it's time to, again, I told you, world number 8, look at your body. I mean, literally, some of us, we work all day, we sit in front of a computer, not good for the body. The cycle of 8 says, work out, change your food. Do you want to add more fruits and veggies? Do whatever you can. Don't ignore your health issues. And then focus on the prosperity, because the money can happen in that cycle. Cycle of 9, final cycle, clearing the space, going through your life. Relationship, maybe it's a bad relationship. Well, then it's time to end it. It's okay to end it. Work, you've done a job forever, you don't get a raise, you don't get anything. It's okay to look for another job. So 9 just means getting ready for something new. And when I say clear space, throw things away, the reason you do it, it will clear your mind as well. So those are the personal year cycles.
So it sounds like to me that if you have something significant coming up, that you might want to choose a date for it.
That's actually very true. Here's what I personally did. And this was years ago. I was on a show, and it was actually coast to coast. And a woman called. She's like, yeah, I need to get knee surgery. And she's like, well, what do you think of this date? And she gave me a date that was so bad for her. I couldn't believe it. I said, oh my gosh, no. You cannot get surgery that day. Please shoot me an email. I'll tell you how to pick a good date. And then when I was done, my husband said to me, hey, you really should create a numerology calendar, Glynis. You could just put a symbol for what's a good day. What's a challenge day? Where should you proceed with caution? And I did. This was 2006. So I've done this for years. I have a numerology calendar that literally shows you by your life path. So in other words, there's 9 different calendars. It's the date of birth that determines what's good for you. And the biggest motivation for me, Jeff, surgery. There isn't anything scarier, right? You go in for surgery, you're trusting that doctor. You're trusting it's going to be okay. There's no guarantee. But when you have a day that's completely in alignment with you, that's going to help you. And I've had people say, look, I had knee surgery, and the doctor said it was going to take at least 6 weeks to heal. Within 2 weeks, I was walking. I was good. That's what I mean. I even had a guy, this was a very sweet story. His father was like 92. He said it was a heart surgery. And of course, the surgeon was even nervous operating on a guy that old. It went beautifully. The father was great within a week or 2. So that's what I'm talking about. But also, what about travel? You want to pick a good day to travel, and then pick a date when you come back that's good. Because do you want to lose the luggage? No, you don't. And I got to tell you a funny story about the number 8, Jeff. When it's an 8 day, and what do I mean by that? The 8th, the 17th, or the 26th, that's all 8 energy. I have found it's not uncommon when it comes to travel, like on a plane, especially if the plane itself is an 8. So let's say the flight number reduces to 8. I will not do a plane that's an 8 on an 8 day. I will not, because I already know. And I have story after story. Even my sister Monica, you know how family doesn't listen very well. Like I warned her, it didn't matter. Their luggage was lost. Like she lives in New Zealand. She flew here. Their luggage was lost on that flight. She didn't get her stuff for 2 weeks. That's an example. But even one of my dear friends, she was on a plane. She said, Glynis, I had no choice. It was an 8 plane, 8 day. She looks out the window and the plane, it's literally a little bit on fire, like the wing. And now, mind you, they hadn't flown yet, but the guy made them all get off the plane. And I just laughed at that. Why did you chance it? So I'm just putting that out there. If it's an 8 day, 8, 17, 26, and your flight, let's say flight 800, that's not subtle. You break it down, 8 plus 0 plus 0 is 8. Make a note of it and don't do that flight. Pick another one.
Glynis, you've been on probably thousands of interviews, whether it's radio, podcast, television, etc. Is there a question out there that you wish somebody had asked you, but no one ever has?
Oh, let's think about that. I would say to you, people tend to ask me about themselves, right? And they ask about relationships and they ask about finance. But sometimes they're not really thinking about what's truly troubling them. Like that's where I come in to help them. And I call that vibration. So example, when I said the shadow side of the world number 8 is being negative or hateful, you might see more of that than usual. And that's not healthy. So what I do is I walk them, I kind of get them to admit what else is happening. Like they might be strong-minded in what they believe, but when we get underneath it, because numerology is an onion with layers, they have those aha moments. So I'm often peeling under the layer, Jeff. You know, I do it all the time. But what's been such a blessing with numerology and what people need to understand, it's numbers are in everything. Everything has vibration. And when I look at your life by the numbers, or you read my book to understand you, it could be naming your baby, which by the way is my favorite thing. When you name a baby, that's vibration. And you want to ensure that it's compatible to you and your partner. Because if those numbers are challenged, you know darn well there's families that have broke apart, right? Like I've literally been able to heal a mother and daughter who didn't speak for like 10 years because I helped them understand their differences. But if I can help you name a baby and those numbers are already naturally matched or compatible, that's going to be so good for you as a family. And even in my big family, from a family of 13, there's a couple siblings that do not communicate with us per se, and they don't talk to my mom, who, in my opinion, is a saint. Like my mom is my best friend, but it's also numbers. We are extremely compatible in numerology. So when I help people understand where are you the same, where are you different, you're able to heal your life, which is awesome.
I don't know if you can analyze this with numerology, but lately there's been a lot of news about the drones in New Jersey and all that stuff. Can you give us any information about that?
What I would tell you, like regarding the drones, people are speculating where's it coming from, right? What I find interesting when the government says, oh, it's no big deal, they're not a threat. Well, doesn't that also make one believe that the government knows exactly what they are? Like, there's no way, in my opinion, no matter what government you would be, you're not going to let a bunch of drones fly around and act like it's no big deal, they're not a threat. You'd want to know exactly what they are and where they're coming from. But on a bigger note, extraterrestrials, people ask me, do you believe, in other forms of life? Of course I do. What, we're the only one in the universe, just planet Earth? No. But it was interesting. It was the world number 7. So that was the year before the 8, right? Because each year it changes 1. So 2023 was the world number 7. That's when they started to admit some stuff, right? They talked about that there's been stuff, UFOs. They started to admit some of it, meaning the government mentioned it. And I believe that's why they did it. I think they do know what's going on, like stuff we do not know, right? Stuff that's classified. But I believe this is going to become more a part of our life. Now, where my concern is, 2 things. AI. Here's where I'm not a fan of AI at all. Creativity. as a human being. Like you write a beautiful song or you sing it, suddenly the AI is matching your voice. Not okay. Or you write a beautiful book and someone says, hey, write me a book like that. And it's written. There's a soullessness to that I find concerning. So what I'd like to see, and I'm hoping even in the cycle of 9, we got to find a balance. It can't just stay the wild, wild west, because we need to deal with it before this idea. This part makes me laugh, Jeff, when they say, oh, AI could be the greatest threat. This could be the end of the world. I'm like, yeah, but you guys created it. So why did you create something that could be our greatest threat? See? So I say we've got to get a handle on that. And there's got to be rules in place, and people cannot just take from each other. If you're a creative person, and I really promote that in everybody out there, no one has the right to take your voice. Like Scarlett Johansson, she had to sue. I think it was Disney. They asked her first, hey, can we, use you? And she said, no. Next thing you know, they create a thing that sounded identical to her. I mean, it was her voice. So she had to sue. That's what I'm talking about. That needs to shift. And I knew this cycle of 8 was never going to help that problem. But AI is something we need to be concerned about. And then, of course, I'm not worried about what else is out there, because I'm sure it's been happening a long time. It's been around a long time. I have people that are dear friends, people I respect, that have seen, bizarre stuff. And a person that wasn't a person, right? Like even my own mother was walking on the beach and saw this couple, and their face looked like, the television when you get the static.
Yeah.
She was walking with her boyfriend at the time. His name was Peter. And she looked at their face and thought, why can't I make out that face? And it just looked like static. And Peter saw the same thing. So yeah, that's a part of us. But what I've always known, we the people are the ones who are going to make or break what happens here. Well, we can become a major threat to ourselves. And that's why we can't ignore this conversation. We can't be shut down because someone doesn't agree with what you say. We've got to get back to, this is what I believe. You tell me what you believe. Let's find a compromise. That word compromise is coming up. We haven't had enough of it, but it's coming. Yeah.
Glynis, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you. Should they do that through your website?
Oh, always. Yes. If they go to numberslady.com, and by the way, Numbers Lady is the pointer to the site. So GlynisHasYourNumber.com is my site, and that name's tricky, Glynis, hasyournumber.com. But I got named the Numbers Lady by the world. People started calling, hey, I want to talk to the Numbers Lady. And so when I went to name my website, they didn't have the Numbers Lady. It was taken by like an accountant. So if you just go numberslady.com, here's what's there. You're going to find my books. You're going to find a free newsletter. You're going to find everything I'm doing. So like that workshop I'm doing, that's going to be at the end of January 25th on Saturday. You got all the information there. And what I'm doing with that, Jeff, their early bird special, they get a free PDF copy of their calendar. So you can actually get a calendar as part of signing up for the workshop. So that's fun for them. And then I also am big on affirmations. That's always been a part of my life. So I have one on prosperity. I have one on kindness, because I think there's a deficit when it comes to that. It's possible, Jeff, that if you feel like your life has gotten too negative, you can affirm it and flip it around. And I have great stories on that. And then your health issues. What does that really mean? Well, what we don't deal with mentally can attack us physically. So I help you take your health back, start to feel better. That's all at numberslady.com.
Is there anything else that you're working on that you want people to know about?
Yeah, there is something I'm very excited about. I wrote the book Love by the Numbers. And so what that was is basically saying how to help people find healthy love. Like if you were single, how to find healthy love from the very beginning. But if you were married, how to heal the love that you're in, like reignite the love you have. Because there's nothing worse than when you're married and suddenly you feel like you're roommates, right? It's been years and you're just not even being intimate and loving towards each other. That's the book. So what I did was the audio version of the book. And that took longer than I expected. So those people who follow me know that. But I did get it done. And now it's being uploaded and it will launch in the month of January. So if someone's looking just to drive in their car and learn about love, learn about their numbers, learn about a potential partner, the Love by the Numbers version, it'll be at Audible Books. I also plan on having it on my website, but it will help you heal yourself. My husband is a great example. We've been married 20 years. October 30th was our 20-year anniversary. And he is my buddy. Like, we are best friends, let alone do we love each other. And it's been 22 years total. So it isn't just that I promote having you find healthy love. I did it myself. So I know it works, and I did it all by the numbers.
Glynis, before we wrap it up, can you leave us with a last positive message?
So what I'm going to do, because the world number 9 is coming up, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite people that was a 9 life path. Because as I said, the 9 is a humanitarian who feels called to help people. Louise L. Hay is very famous, actually. She passed away just a couple of years ago at 90. But the thing about her is she certainly believed what we don't deal with mentally would attack us physically. And one of the things she said, she was big on affirmation, just to keep your mind in a positive space. She would say, when things were bad, everything happening in my life right now is for my highest good. All is well in my world. So everything happening in my life right now is for my highest good. All is well in my world. So what's so beautiful about that? When you're stressed out, you are going to feel angry and hurt, but you also feel helpless. When you start affirming that, it just makes you feel better. You start to feel more comforted going, oh, okay, that's true. Because all this is, Jeff, it's a spiritual stomping ground. We're just here to learn. So once we learn, that's where our breakthroughs come through. We're going to make mistakes along the way, but if we can learn from it, that's what it's all about. And that affirmation reminds you that no matter what you're going through, it's for your highest good.
Glynis, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest again.
It was my pleasure, and I do hope to talk to you again.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.